Oh, welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. So happy to have you with me this afternoon, a little chunk of your afternoon. And we are talking today with a very special guest, someone who is making an attempt at a very big thing here today and making an attempt at governor of New Jersey. Wow, is all I can say. The man himself, John Mirrione. How are you, sir?
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Look, we've met before. I know you. I'm very happy that you're here. And if people want to see what he's doing, you can head over, if you want, to his Facebook page at John.Mirrione. If you're listening only, it's Mirrione. If you're listening only. You can also go to his website at harmonybykarate.com. Either of those is fine. Check out what he's doing. I have to ask you, John.
Yes.
Making a run for governor is hard, period. You've run before, you know it's challenging. Making a run as a libertarian in New Jersey, even harder. Why do this? Why make this run?
Well, it's a very interesting time. I'm certainly not a person who's a standby kind of guy, right? So we're looking at a whole host of situations happening within the government and the people. And to me, it's better than complaining. You got to get out there and you got to roll your sleeves up. And
it's
that's
true.
Yeah.
But here's my question, though. There are many ways we can help, right? Some people watching now are like, well, I can go help knock doors with him, or I can write him a check, or I can run locally. You're not doing any of those. You're putting yourself out front, right? You don't have to. You could help somebody else run, but you're not. You're putting yourself out front. Why are you ready to do something like that? That's a bigger challenge.
Well, I look at the administration now, and that inner circle has been my circle. Like, these people all know me. Either I train them or their children. I don't want to go name dropping. So the whole administration, and we look at Howard Lutnick and Trump and all his connections, and of course Kennedy. I was, the national lead for RFK. I helped him. I was one of the key players in getting those 1 million signatures. So, I was concerned about people getting out there into the unknown, into the abyss of just stating that, hey, we like someone different. We like a third-party person. And we're in a country that's supposed to be free. So to me, it's not about being in the Libertarian Party or even with RFK. It's about, how about something else other than Democrat, Republican, right? There are infinite ways to look at things. And if we're seeking freedom, we have to keep opportunities open. There should be multiple candidates, is how I see it. I see your thing popped up. I got my coffee. I had to stop here.
There we go. Yeah, we all got coffee. Yes, absolutely. So if I'm hearing you right, what I'm hearing you saying is you now, because of what happened last year and your movement with the Libertarian Party before that, with the RFK movement, the Maha movement now, with Trump now being in charge, that there are more people who will know who you are, see what you've done, and go, oh, that guy. We can work with him. Is that how I'm reading it?
It said, I've trained the leaders and future leaders of the city for 30 years. So the Harmony by Karate brand is a leadership school using martial arts leadership. And it's always been, educated people who have a ton of money and not interested in getting hit or getting choked out. They're not interested in the violence. They're interested in the depth of something and how it's going to impact their life, right? So a lot of these people do have a level of depth. Even if people don't like who these people are, whoever's running, whoever's, out there in the political realm, there's good and bad, just like us, right? So they would come to me as a person that I'm not enamored so much by, the celebrity and the power. That doesn't really do it for me. But when they're nice to me and they respect me, I'll give them something that's transformative. Some of them turn their businesses around and they give bonuses to their workers and they made the world better as a result of connecting with me. Some didn't change at all. And others are kind of in between. So there's been a wonderful, I even saw some of the kids that were adults, and I've seen them on TV when Trump was announcing things. And he's announcing some of these kids. I'm like, oh, there, look who's so-and-so. And like I said, I don't want to go name dropping because I want to, be respectful to them. But they know me. And that's how Kennedy learned about me, through other people. And they learned through the grapevine that I'm somebody with that kind of background, and I would be best.
So let me touch that if I could. Right, one of the biggest things that you talk about is the idea of harmony.
Yeah.
Now, but your background, that wouldn't be obvious if someone just read your background, because your background is very varied. You're a veteran.
Mhm.
You're also a dancer, and
Yeah.
you're also a fighter.
Yeah.
That's a mixed background. How does that background of that get to harmony?
Well, it's, I got bullied a lot growing up in Brooklyn. Well, first I was homeless with my mother, who was a drug addict and a suicidal drug addict, which was really a traumatizing time.
Sure.
But it was a beautiful time because when I look back, it's made me who I am today. It made me tough. It made me deeply empathetic. In fact, this is the ring I wear that she just passed away 2 months ago. God bless her.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But I told her before she passed on, I said, Mom, thank you. It was an incredible ride together. It was really a wonderful journey, for me to go. So I go into, I have a organization, there's another website, harmonypowernow.org. And I developed a charity because I was bullied so much. And I used martial arts to stand up, fight back at that time. And then breakdancing came into my life later. And I adopted that immediately. And I would mix martial arts and breakdancing. And I ended up on all the stages. I did the Apollo Theater 4 times, and I was a choreographer with a show called Club MTV. And I was also an Air Force entertainer. I competed at it's kind of like a special forces of entertainment. You had to compete and win first place each time, and then you end up on a national tour. But for me as a youngster, I was 19. It was a blast, right? To get out there and do that. But I was so into connecting to people. I was so into empowering people through my explosive movement. But today I'm an amateur to what I see now. I mean, they love watching me now. I'll be 60, right? They look and they go, they can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing at 60. And I feel I'm very young, but my hat's off to all the young people today that are just rocking the house. I mean, they're just amazing to me to see where
but this part you just bring up, though, right? What I think is funny about that, two parts, if I could.
Yeah.
One is being an entertainer is part of what it takes now to be a good politician. You see it with many people out there. People to get your message out past everything that's out there. You have to be some type of entertainer or interest or showman or something so people can go, oh, let me notice this person. Otherwise, I don't hear them at all because there's so much noise. So I see what you're saying with the idea. Look at Trump. Before that, look at Barack Obama. He was a similar way, a showman, right? So it doesn't matter where you are. These are people who can move a crowd, that kind of thing. Don't mind being in front of a camera. In fact, love being in front of a camera, stuff like that. So I see your point clearly on that. I'm assuming you're looking at that as a strength for you, as a way of getting your message out.
Well, for me, I mean, what strengthened me was the Apollo Theater. I mean, this is a crowd that, if you're not good, you're going to know about it, right?
And you're a white guy too, on top of it.
So I'm not a man of color, and I had to really. Yes. I mean, there were times I went, they wouldn't even let me in, and I had to break through that, and then I had to learn to look. Entertainment still wins. Hold
on, I remember that story. I want to go back to the story for a second. I remember that story. There was at one point where you went to the Apollo, waited in line for hours, and they wouldn't let you in. That's true, isn't it?
The first time I went, I waited for let's say an hour, and I just realized that I was not in a safe place. They were not going to let me in. And when I went back to my friends who were, these are all, young people of color, and they were like, we told you, why would you waste your time? And then I was mad about it. A year later, when I got out of service, I went back. And this time I cut the line. I went right to the front, and I took my radio, I put it down on the ground, and I knew I was risking my life because everyone was really But it was Ralph Cooper Sr., the founder of Amateur Night. He said, what are you doing? I said, I came here to dance. He said, get it over with. Click the button, and I just started pop locking, and I was doing flips, and they went crazy. They stood up, and the music finished, and they still kept clapping. And I started dancing, right? So Ralph Cooper Sr. is like, sit down. He got mad. He goes, this kid's good, right? So I sat down. I'm like, I don't know. Am I on the show? Am I just going to sit down? He said, come over here. He said, you're going to go on Amateur Night this Wednesday night. And that was the beginning of the story. 4 times. There's a story with each time, but I don't want to go into that.
No, that's a good story.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Somebody was to write a movie about it, but truthfully, to me, it's about that human connection. So when I've gone into inner city with my anti-bullying mission, you go into neighborhoods, they look at me and they go, who are you? Why are you here?
Okay, hold on. Tell me about the anti-bully thing. I know you've been talking about that. Give me some details on that.
Well, I went on a national tour, another national tour out of my own pocket on 2010. There was in fact, I just couldn't bear watching TV anymore and watching what was happening to children. So I just said, let me go to Chicago. And I went to Chicago. I hired a publicist and I said, let me do that. I let my business sponsor me and I just traveled. And I went into some of the worst neighborhoods. And when I walk in, it would be the same thing. What are you doing here? I'm a person, I'm not of color. And I would win them over. But it was some unsafe situations. But there was always the flip. They see I can fight. Then they're like, okay, he's cool. Even though they can still stab me and they can still do whatever. But they know, like, they respect you can fight. Then they see you dance. You're like, oh, all right, he's too cool. Like, he came out of his way to connect with us. And they hear about my childhood. That I'm like, even though I went through that trauma and then the bullying, I don't ever I never feel bad about myself. In fact, there are people who've gone through much worse. Whatever dark space, whatever you've gone through, is so much worse. But I realized that from traveling to 17 cities, that anytime a child gets bullied, they get suspended, expelled, they go to jail. And I'm like, that's not working. That doesn't stop.
Right.
These kids are like, whatever, I'm still getting attention.
Right.
But the opposite. So I came up with the idea of an award system called Harmony Power, positive reinforcement. So children have like 33 days to change the world using their gifts and talents, whatever it might be. And 1/3 of the school population has to do it. And they do a big show called Universal Harmony Day on the 33rd day. And it's like Lean on Me meets Rocky. You can just cry watching what these kids do because they're owning it. They want it. So it became so big in Elizabeth that for me to continue, I said, look, I'm only going to do this if this is going to be mandated. And they made it the whole city do it. And it wasn't like you had to force the kids to do it. It wasn't like, hey, you need to go and love yourself and do what you love to do. And we're going to recognize you. Like, kids are like, let's go. They're doing it in school time, off time. They're singing, they're dancing, they're doing artwork. Sometimes they're just expressing anger. And then they're getting an award for it. It goes in the report card as a permanent record. That's the best school assessment of where that child should be directed. So I want that Harmony Power mandate in every city in the state. Let me tell you, you want to end the bullying crisis, or at least stop it significantly. You want to see crime drop significantly because bullies become criminals. And bullies are criminals often. And if any time
I like what you're saying. So this is where I get it. Now I understand. So the turmoil that you've had in the past and the fighting that you've had in the past, that is what has kind of pushed you into creating some form of harmony, because you don't want that chaos. Yeah. You want more harmony. That's why you created it. The hardship as a kid, the fighting, the dancing, you brought it all together to create that. I get that now. Okay, that's clear on a personal level. I kind of want to shift a bit, if I could, into actual things like policy and such, right? New Jersey's got a lot of problems. The country's got a lot of problems. We could talk for the next 25 hours if we want to talk about all the problems, but I don't want to kill my audience. Yeah. Pick like the top 1, 2, or 3 that you think you should be focusing on in your run for governor of New Jersey.
No, number 1, I just mentioned Harmony Power, the anti-bully mission is a must. We're going to prevent the mass shootings, prevent the violence, and bring the crime rate down. You got to start with the root, the children, number 1. Within that realm, within that educational realm, statewide testing needs to end. Like, done with that. We spent $22 million just for them to be tested. We spent about $2 million because they're anxious and depressed. It makes no sense. And it's not even real life education, right? So it should be more of an assessment that's real life education based, that we assess where they need to go and we navigate them to what they're good at, so that they can actually get a job later, right? So
you're saying the statewide testing that Jersey does to say whether or not you have the grade in whatever, that's not valuable, but an assessment testing on what the person's good at, the kid is good at, so they can move themselves, that's okay. Did I read you right?
That's right. Because you have to go with the flow of the child. You can't give them a standard thing. This education's been since the Industrial Revolution. I mean, and it hasn't really been revamped. They keep putting Band-Aids on it and spending a ton of money on, it's like throwing money into the wind. And it makes no sense to me. And then 11th, 12th grade, granted we have immigrants coming in, and I think it's great to have people come in where they can bring their talents and they help build our houses and all of it. We need electricians, plumbers, carpenters, 11th, 12th grade trade school where these kids can go out there and even as an amateur, even as an apprentice, get paid, $20 an hour, $25 an hour as an assistant. They have a real job now.
Yes.
But they're not going to be
and
working.
if you're getting paid $20 an hour and you're still living at home with mom, that's a livable wage.
Right. This is what I'm saying.
Until you can get to the level to where you have an actual livable wage. But if you're 18 living at home with mom, $20 an hour is totally fine. That's a good living. You're good.
They talk about wages, but they haven't talked about skills. So where is it coming from, right? So wage needs to go up. For what? Why would a company? I'm a businessman for 30 years in the Upper West Side. I'm a businessman. Let's just call it out. I don't think there's any Republican or Democrat in New Jersey that is a New York City businessman. I need to let people know that. And when you're a businessman, you think differently. Right? So as a businessman, why would I pay whatever wage they say if I'm not getting skill? You're not getting the skill. And if the schools are not going to cultivate the skill,
yes.
Hold on. What is that child going to do? Now, that same child doesn't have money to go to college to attain a skill. So where is this all going to go? All I hear the politicians talking about on both sides, let's move money from here to there. It's the same talk. $36 trillion in debt later is the same talk. So if they bring up anything about money, I'm like, you know what? You got to talk about how we're going to save money and how we're going to make it. How we save it. My idea with the financial crisis, the other piece I got to talk about while it's in my head, there's 52 cities. You can have 52 volunteers, people with financial expertise, accountants preferably, that go and do an audit at the Capitol, right? So they're doing the Doge thing where you have an outside private company. You make it a collective effort by the state annually, every year. Not this is a one-time fix. No. They go in there, they assess it. What are we spending on? Where can we cut corners? Where are we overspending? Where is
Hold on. So you're saying it's a yearly voluntary Doge for New Jersey?
Right. We do that with the jury duty. It makes the most important thing is our finances, right? We don't have the root of the state in check, right? So we have everything in check. Like we have juries go in there to, help protect our rights. What about our finances? Like we have to, as citizens, we need to take that seriously. Now, they can audit us, but we can't audit them. It should be about checks and balances. And the fact that in the Capitol, right, they don't even allow the media to come in there. The media can go in there minimal because they don't want people to know what they should know.
Everything. Is that right? I didn't know that. They don't let the media in Trenton?
Very minimal. Yep.
Wow. Well, that's one thing I'll give. One thing in New York, I mean, we're corrupt, but we're openly corrupt. So I guess that's something, I guess. I guess we got that.
Something, right. Yeah.
Something at least. Yeah. We actually have a lot of press in Albany. That's one thing we do have, a lot of press. We have a press room, press corps actually in the actual Capitol. So that's one thing we do. We do one thing, I guess, a little bit better, but not by much. But yeah, I think that's true. So we're talking now then about bullying, which the bullying issue, in your view, helps with education, helps with violence, helps with kids getting their better education, and also helps with less criminals. So that's good. I got that.
Think about
Second piece.
But hold on. Think what you just said, right? So the bullying is the root, right? If a child believes in themselves, they love themselves, right? Now they're going to be a productive member of society. They're going to do a job that they can actually do, which means it's better for the economy, correct? It's better for the fiscal, like the crisis we're in, right? Now we're going to save money because it costs, maybe $60,000 a year to put somebody in jail per person. But there's a whole math with that. Oh, let me save more math, right? So we're spending, millions of dollars in education every year. We're going to save a lot of money because now we're not spending money on their psychological issues because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. The attendance is up, kids are more active, and we're spending less on statewide testing. It's $22 million right there. It just goes on. The math of it just gets so much better when we focus on being proactive than reactive. The cost of being reactive is exponential. So, and I can rest assure you that all the way up to the trillions of dollars that we're in debt, that's a reactive thing. They've waited so long that this money that we're in a deficit with has become exponential, that we're trying to roll it back. We're billions in debt in New Jersey. And I'm like, that math can be worked out. Looking at my business in New York, I've been through, 2008 crash. I've been through the crash. I've been through the COVID. We had to lock down for a year, and I have not only done well, but I've thrived through it all. I understand how to immediately look at this. That's when you look at the spreadsheet. That's when you start making real decisions. And I've never laid off an employee ever in any of these disasters.
Good for you. Good for you.
So, you know,
Let me ask.
Yeah.
Dave is on your side. Dave says K through 10, then a test, either 11th or 12th prep school for university or trade school or community college.
That's right.
I think Dave's on board with you, man.
Yeah, I mean, they say it's common sense. The issue you have is colleges they want to make money. That's where you run into it. It's kind of like the pharmaceuticals want to make money. And I want people to make money. And I want the pharmaceutical. Listen, the pharmaceutical, we have everyday people working at pharmaceutical companies. I'm not against them. I'm for the Maha movement, and I helped to lead it. I was one of the leaders. But I'm not for attacking corporations. I'm for working with them to correct what they need to correct. Colleges could probably make more money on getting more kids in on volume than making the prices so high that we can't afford it. They can flip the script and do better, and then society does better.
Got it. Michael loves your look. He says, Mr. Mirrione looks exactly like someone who's the governor of New Jersey would look. That alone should get him a nomination and the votes. He likes your look, man.
Hey, listen, you know, it's just being me. I can't stop being me. If people say, what's up with the hat? That's me. And I appreciate that. Yeah.
There we go. Alexander says, I like the idea of having the outside cities audit the state capitol, but how do you know these cities won't be protective over their own funding sources? It's a valid question, right? If I know I'm going to be getting individual people to audit here or audit there, how do I know I can trust the auditors? I guess is this question. How do you know you can trust the auditors?
You do a lottery, like jury duty. You know, you get every accountant every accountant in every city has to be, no pun intended, accounted for, right? Because it's a license. They get a notice to their house. They got to show up at the Capitol. There you go. Problem solved. That's what I do. Like, I've never been asked that question. I think about, I'm outside the box. I think about what people are not thinking about. It's been my gift. Whenever people get stuck, I'm like, why don't we do this? There's always a different way to think. And more importantly, I've always listened to the people around me. There's resources all around you. And the issue is people are not taking action because they're afraid to do something different from the old paradigm. What I respect about the current administration, I'm not going to tell you what I don't respect. What I do respect is people saying they're going to do something, they do it.
Yes, agreed.
Listen, no matter how you cut it. And to me, you know, people say, do you love Trump? I'm talking about whether I like Trump, I don't like Trump. I get asked all the time, like, that's the commander in chief. That's the commander in chief. If somebody asks me, what do I think? They're going to know because I was in the military. So I would follow orders. When they asked me, they got the answer. But often enough, they would watch what I would do and in admiration try to copy it because they knew.
There's another piece, right? I think if you look at people, whether Democrats or Republicans, one of the reasons why we get upset about them is because they were supposed to do something and didn't, right? Mm-hmm. I think where you see a lot of people who are still supporting Thomas Massie in this current rift between Massie and Trump, the people who are supporting Massie, they may still like or not like Trump, but they're saying, no, Massie's doing what he said. Right. He said he'd act this way, and he is. One of the reasons why AOC is doing so poorly where I am here in Queens is because she said she was going to be super progressive, and she's not. She's become establishment. Now, I'm not a progressive, but it doesn't matter. To your point, she should be progressive. She ran on being progressive. Yeah. She ran on Medicare for all. She ran on that stuff. Again, that's not what I want, but to your point, doesn't matter. If you vote for it, the people should do what they voted for, right? You should get it. I completely agree with that logic.
Yeah, and totally. Look, people go into fear zone. That's why they flip-flop their policies. They're afraid. Sometimes people just change what they thought, and they're allowed to change their policy and change what they think. We have to not be too judgmental when people shift. But when they completely flip like that, it's fear. People are afraid to say what they really feel and think. People have to learn they can say what they feel and think without offending the person's difference. Like, that's the issue we have in our country. Is like, you don't have to attack like when I would teach safety and de-escalation with Kennedy, I would talk about to listen to what other people are saying, say very little, and when they're all done, share your viewpoint. We have to become listeners in this society. We cannot learn and evolve and become a collective group unless we're learning what makes us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. All right, so let me move to that point. There's a lot of people going to be afraid, and they're not going to want to try something new. They're going to say, I'm a Democrat, so I'm voting Democrat, or I'm a Republican, so I'm voting, or whatever. How does someone as a libertarian, as a third party, as an independent party, how are you going to make impact here, John? This is going to be a tough one. I'm not saying you can't do it. I know you can. I made impact. It can be done. The question is how in this race this time?
It's pretty simple to me. I mean, I have two businesses in New York City. One is a solution to the immigration crisis. This is a real business that's set up. They come in, they know how to vet people efficiently, quickly, and humanely, right? Now, look, there are people going to be vetted where they know if they know there's a gang, they're going to come and extract them. And people are going to get upset, and sometimes they make mistakes. But we need a vetting system where people can become citizens, like that have been here forever, like or people that just got here have an opportunity. There needs a pre-process. Like, to me, they should learn how to speak English. I mean, come on, you're in another country, I got to learn their language. We need to have a system that makes us American. That's a big thing for me. I'm a soldier, and even with all these human differences, race, color, creed, sexual orientation, come on, this woke thing is the woke is the joke to me. You know why? Either way you look at it. I'm a veteran. The person next to me, race, color, creed, sexual orientation, I don't care. They're going to take a bullet for me. A bullet. I would do that for them. I don't even know them. Whoever made this whole thing up and then put one side against the other, all hating each other, even the exam where they ask you, what's your race, color, get that all out. That should be all merit. What's your social security number? What's your name? Okay. Can you do the job? We got to get off this. It's very destructive. And the whole, I got to go into the trans thing real quick. What's in my head? I have every type of person that works for me you can never imagine. It's New York City. They need to have they should have what I would call a trans league. I would have like a trans league of sports and let them handle it the way they want. They have nowhere to go. That's why they're going to regular sports. It makes sense. Like you have to, there's times you separate and there's times it has to be totally inclusive. But the labeling creates a lot of division and people fight over the labeling of what they don't even understand.
So let me then move to another piece if I could.
Please.
Is the win for you only getting the governorship, or is there in other words, if something else happens but you don't get the governorship, you would still say, okay, this happened, so I still won? Or is it governor or nothing?
The way I see it this way is I'm winning already. I'm on your show. Thank you. That's right. So people are hearing my voice, right? They're hearing things that, hey, there's possibilities I didn't really think about, or I agree with that. And I have a lot more. Secondly, I get on the stage debate. That's another victory. I'm just debating. That's the second victory. Third one is, hey, we want John to run. He's going to represent the Libertarian Party. That's a third victory. The fourth victory is I got to get 2,000 signatures. That's a fourth victory. And any media that goes with it. It's letting people know that this party is no joke, that people are in it. There's some really very educated people who have very open mindsets that we should be listening to. Like, let me just give you another example. Like a big party thing with us is decriminalization of, certain aspects of drugs and prostitution, right? Mm-hmm. We spend a fortune putting away people that are doing nonviolent crimes. Why? Why would we spend billions in that, right? It's a big business to put people in jail.
Yes, it is.
It's destroying lives. So like for me, if given the opportunity, I'd eradicate all of that. I'm like, no, we're not wasting our money in that. If it's against someone's will and it's violent and it's a person underage, it's very serious crime. Outside of that, it's nobody's business. I would immediately you want to save billions of dollars that alone.
You mentioned the debate. There's going to be a debate coming up here with in Jersey, right? Where and when?
Rutgers University at 3 p.m.
Rutgers University, 3 p.m. this Saturday, right?
Yeah.
This Saturday. So if anyone's going to be in that area, please show up there if you can. Check it out. If you can make it, head on over there. That'd be great. If you want to see what John is doing, you can check out his Facebook page. It's right here. By the way, if you're watching on either if you're watching in on either YouTube or Facebook or Rumble, all of those, his information is all there. Click to check out his Facebook page or his harmonybykarate.com website. You can check it out. Anything you want to say before we wrap this up, John?
No, I'm excited to be on. I'll have some surprises. If the viewers listen in, there's a lot more to be said. There's a lot of questions that will be answered on that day. I would say this is about half of that information. So I'd be excited to have people, listen in and give their viewpoints. It's on YouTube Live, so that'll be posted as well.
There we go. You can also watch the YouTube, but show up if you can. Show up if you can. If you can't, you can watch
Absolutely.
it.
Show up at Rutgers. It's more fun.
There we go.
Fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, guys, I want to say to my audience, thank you all for watching and listening. If you haven't clicked the like button and shared this, I don't know why you hate the children. I know you love the children, so please share and like this. It does matter. I'll be back on this evening at 7 and again at 10. Yes, I have a busy day today. I will see you all very soon.